The Ugly Duckling. On a summer's day, Mother Duck sat on her nest, waiting for her little ducklings to hatch. One after the other, the eggs began to crack. First one little duckling, then another and another, until 6 little yellow ducklings had emerged. But the last egg was the biggest, and it didn't crack. Mother Duck sat patiently until at last the big egg cracked open. But what emerged was a big, ugly, gray duckling. Mother Duck was very disappointed. He was so big and gray. He certainly didn't look like the others. "Well, he is my son," she said to herself, "and I will love him just the same." The next day, Mother Duck took her children to the pond to introduce them to the other animals. "Here are my children," she said proudly. But the other animals were not impressed with the ugly duckling. "He's so big and gray," they cried. "He doesn't belong here." The ugly duckling was very sad. Even his own brothers and sisters didn't want to play with him. "You're so ugly," they said. "We don't want to be near you." The ugly duckling felt very lonely. One day, the ugly duckling decided he couldn't take it anymore. He ran away from the pond and went to find a new home. He traveled for many days until he came to a farm. "Maybe I can stay here," he thought. But the animals on the farm were just as cruel as the animals at the pond. Winter came, and the ugly duckling was very cold and hungry. He had no friends and no family to help him. He was all alone in the world. But then, one day, spring arrived. The sun began to shine and the flowers began to bloom. The ugly duckling felt a little bit happier. One day, he saw a flock of beautiful white birds flying overhead. They were swans. The ugly duckling had never seen anything so beautiful. He felt a strange longing to be with them. He didn't know why, but he knew he had to follow them. He ran and ran until he came to a lake. He looked into the water and saw his reflection, but he didn't see an ugly gray duckling. He saw a beautiful white swan. The ugly duckling was no longer ugly. He had grown into a beautiful swan. He was so happy, he spread his wings and flew up to join the other swans. The other swans welcomed him, and he finally felt like he belonged. He had found his family, and he was home at last. The ugly duckling was happy at last. He had learned that it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside, it's what's on the inside that counts. And that, my friends, is the story of the ugly duckling, a story about acceptance, transformation, and finding your place in the world.